Most people think they're disciplined. They're not. They just do things when they feel like it and call that effort. But real discipline, the kind that Andrew Tate talks about, has nothing to do with motivation. It's a formula. And the truth is, most people won't follow it. Not because it's complicated, but because it's uncomfortable. Andrew Tate said something that most people ignore. Focus isn't about motivation. It's about what you tolerate. And the reason most people can't focus today is because their brain has been trained to avoid discomfort. That idea hits harder the more you think about it. Most people spend their time trying to feel ready before they act. They wait for motivation, for the right mood, for the perfect moment. But what if that entire approach is flawed? What if focus isn't something you find, but something you build by removing what weakens it? Love him or hate him, Andrew Tate is known for one thing: extreme discipline and focus. But what most people misunderstand is this: it's not just mindset, it's a system built on pressure, structure, and the deliberate removal of comfort. And that's where most people fail. They believe focus comes from motivation, willpower, or inspiration. They think watching a few videos, reading quotes, or feeling pumped will suddenly unlock productivity. But motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. And willpower? It's limited. It drains throughout the day like a battery. So if your entire system depends on those things, failure isn't surprising. It's inevitable. The real shift happens when you stop relying on how you feel and start controlling what you allow. Tate's mindset works because it follows a simple but powerful rule. Remove comfort, increase focus. It sounds almost too simple, but it explains everything. The more comfort your brain has, the less it tolerates effort. When your environment is filled with distractions, instant rewards, and easy pleasure, your brain adapts to that level of stimulation. It starts expecting everything to be fast, easy, and entertaining. And when something requires effort, real effort, your brain resists. Not because you're incapable, not because you lack discipline, but because you've trained your brain to reject discomfort. Think about it. If you wake up and immediately grab your phone, scroll social media, check messages, watch videos, you've already flooded your brain with dopamine. You've given it reward after reward without any effort. So when it's time to sit down and work, your brain compares that task to what it just experienced. Work feels slow, boring, difficult, and your brain pushes you away from it. This isn't laziness, it's conditioning. Your brain runs on dopamine, the chemical linked to reward and motivation. Every time you engage in easy stimulation, scrolling, gaming, binge watching, you reinforce reward without effort. Over time, this rewires your expectations. Your brain starts to associate effort with frustration and ease with pleasure. So naturally, it steers you toward what feels better in the moment. That's why you reach for your phone instead of starting your work. That's why you procrastinate even when you know what you need to do. You've trained your brain to avoid discomfort. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people never fix this. They keep adding more motivation hacks instead of addressing the root problem. They download productivity apps, watch endless self-improvement content, and try new routines, but they never remove the distractions that are destroying their focus in the first place. So nothing changes. That's why the real problem isn't focus. It's tolerance. You don't have a focus problem. You have a tolerance problem. Your brain has lost its ability to sit with discomfort. It can't handle boredom, resistance, or delayed gratification anymore. And without that ability, focus becomes almost impossible. Because focus requires discomfort. It requires you to sit still when you want to move, to think when your brain wants stimulation, to push forward when everything inside you says stop. If you can't tolerate that feeling, you'll always escape it. That's where Tate's principle becomes powerful. Not as a personality trait, but as a practical system you can apply. If you want to think like this, you need to start changing what your brain expects. First, remove easy dopamine. This doesn't mean eliminating everything enjoyable from your life. It means controlling when and how you consume it. For example, no phone before work, no scrolling in the morning, no instant gratification before you've earned it. This single change resets your baseline. Instead of starting your day with high stimulation, you start it with effort. Your brain doesn't get flooded with easy rewards, so it becomes more willing to engage with harder tasks. Second, do hard things daily, even when you don't feel like it. This is where most people struggle. They wait until they feel ready, but readiness is a trap. Discipline is built by acting without readiness. When you consistently do things that require effort, working out, studying, focusing deeply, you train your brain to accept discomfort as normal. Over time, that resistance you feel at the start begins to fade, not because the work gets easier, but because you get stronger. Third, train discomfort directly. Put yourself in situations where there's no escape. Cold showers, deep work sessions, silence without stimulation. These are tools to rebuild your tolerance. They force your brain to adapt. At first, it feels unbearable. Your mind looks for ways out. But if you stay with it, something shifts. The discomfort doesn't disappear, but your reaction to it changes. You stop running from it. And that's the turning point. Because once you can sit with discomfort, focus becomes natural. You don't need motivation. You don't need hype. You just do what needs to be done, regardless of how it feels. That's the identity shift most people miss. Focused people aren't special. They're not genetically different. They haven't unlocked some hidden secret. They've simply trained their brain to operate under pressure. They've raised their tolerance. While most people avoid discomfort, they lean into it. While others chase ease, they accept resistance. And over time, that difference compounds. What feels impossible to one person becomes normal to another. That's why two people can have the same goals, the same opportunities, even the same knowledge, and still end up in completely different places. One is controlled by their environment. The other controls it. And that's ultimately what this comes down to: control. Right now, your environment is shaping your behavior more than you realize. The notifications, the apps, the habits, the easy access to entertainment, it's all training your brain in a specific direction. If that direction leads to distraction, low tolerance, and constant avoidance of effort, then focus will always feel out of reach. But the moment you start changing that environment, everything shifts. When you remove distractions, your attention sharpens. When you delay gratification, your patience grows. When you face discomfort, your resilience increases. And slowly, focus stops being something you struggle with. It becomes something you default to. That's the real power of this formula. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about retraining what you've been conditioned to do. Because if you can't focus right now, it's not because you're broken. It's because your environment trained you that way. And that's actually good news, because it means you can reverse it. You can rebuild your tolerance. You can reset your brain. You can create a system that supports focus instead of destroying it. But it starts with a decision to stop chasing comfort, a decision to stop waiting for motivation, a decision to do the hard things consistently, even when they feel uncomfortable. Because that's where real change happens. Not in moments of inspiration, but in moments of resistance. And the moment you change what you tolerate, you change how your brain works. Comment: focus. If you're taking control back.